protection from deception. This is Truth Frequency Radio.
From the biggest little city in the world in the clear blue waters of Lake Tahoe, broadcasting from an undisclosed location in the Truckee River Valley on Truth Frequency Radio, this is the Awakening Liberty Show with Sean Caron.
If you came to prove, there's no reason to prove. Got yourself something funky.
Well, hello and welcome to the Awakening Liberty Show right here on truthfrequencyradio.com, your protection from deception. Good morning again, afternoon, night, depending on where you are. Welcome again. We are live and worldwide, all across America, all around the world. The number to call in is 213-233-3998. Again, that number is 213-233-3998. You can also listen by phone wherever you are. Make it TFR. And that number to call in and listen on your phone is 641-793-7117. It's a beautiful day here. A little cloudy. We've had, it's been cold, but it looks like the snow is finally melting. So we're obviously in good shape there. But we had quite a bit of snow here at the base of the Ruby Mountains this year. But boy, I'm so glad spring is here. I'm a big winter person, but boy, it's just been too much snow. But nice day today, and it's clear we had a little bit of rain yesterday, but for the most part, the weather has been very nice. We are also live on IPMNation.com, iHeartRadio, and the TuneIn Network. I want to send a big shout out to all of you as well. Hope this broadcast finds you doing very, very well and blessed. Today's broadcast contains truth that may in whole or in part be intercepted, impeded, interrupted, stolen, stored, used, and misused by a broad set of intelligence agencies, hackers, professional thieves, government operatives, and creeps. Let's hope the NSA doesn't pop in and interrupt the whole broadcast. But anyway, coming up in just a few minutes, I am excited to welcome back Darryle Marble to the program. Arguably the fittest man in the flat earth community. He is the real deal. A very humble guy. I really like him. And like I said, he is definitely the real deal. Very active out there. We're going to be talking about censorship, activism. We're going to talk about the moon and, of course, some flat earth as well today. Just a little bit of housekeeping out of the way. I want to let everybody know, AwakeningLibertyShow.com. You can stop by there and check out a full calendar of events. It's up and running, so stop by there and say hello and keep up to date on who I got coming on the show. I got to give a plug for the show coming up on April 13th because I'm absolutely excited to welcome Judith Berry Baker to the show. She has some very, very interesting, I got to say, she's got real evidence. She knew Lee Harvey Oswald. She is actually the promoter and organizer of the John F. Kennedy Assassination Conference, which is coming up in Dallas, and she's going to be on the show. Judith actually knew Lee Harvey Oswald. In fact, she had a love affair with the guy, and she talked to him as late as 2 days before Kennedy's assassination, and she wrote a book called Me and Lee, and I'm really looking forward to having her on the show because she's an absolutely extraordinarily courageous woman. She's coming out and talking about a lot of stuff. I mean, everything that had to do with President Kennedy's assassination in Dallas. She's got some very, very pertinent information. So I'm looking forward to that show. That'll be April 13th. That's a Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Can't wait for that show. Also, AwakeningLibertyStore.com is open for business. Stop by and use coupon code ALS25. Biggest sale I've ever done. I got 25% off with that coupon code ALS25. Get your emergency food storage and survival gear, non-GMO legacy premium product. It's very, very good stuff. It's certainly tasty. If a lot of emergency food doesn't taste all that great, but this legacy premium stuff is great, and I'm really proud to carry it at awakeninglibertystore.com. Today, I'd like to start off with the prayers. I always do. God, I offer myself to thee to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I might better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. It's been a kind of an interesting week. In the headlines this week, obviously we're looking still at New Zealand quite a bit, and the way it's turning out, I mean, evidence is pointing more and more towards an Operation Gladio-style event. False flag, professionals involved. It seems to be military. We may talk a little bit about New Zealand today, but that's certainly been in the news, and I think that really leads into what we're going to be talking today about censorship, because that's really happening. But the big thing that happened this week, especially when it comes to the flat earth community, is the Flat Earth movie by Logan Paul. It came out this weekend. I think it was on Friday night. And holy moly, is it terrible. I mean, it is absolutely terrible. And hyped since March 10th, Logan Paul's long-awaited film about becoming a flat earther has arrived. And it's even worse than we were expecting. Wow. All I can say is wow. Flat Earth to the Edge and Back is simply the lousiest, low-grade, low-rent, tawdry, 2-bit piece of mockumentary filmmaking I have ever seen. It's horrible. It was a setup from the get-go. You know, Paul's antics on stage at the 2018 Flat Earth International Conference in Denver included that Neil snake-in-the-grass Tyson mic drop after proclaiming, "I think I'm coming out of the Flat Earth closet." That sparked a lot of heavy debate on the internet and skepticism in the flat earth community. I didn't pay much attention to this Logan Paul guy. I don't particularly care for him. But I didn't have an opinion one way or the other, whether this guy was real or this was a setup or what was going on. But there was a lot of skepticism and debate in the flat earth community. After seeing the film, my personal opinion is that Mr. Paul, a YouTube superstar, I mean, he's got nearly 19 million subscribers. He was ostensibly paid to begin an elaborate publicity stunt. This is what I'm thinking after seeing this film. And why, you might ask that? Well, the timing is odd to me. YouTube said earlier this year that it would begin reducing recommendations of borderline content and content that could misinform users in harmful ways, quote unquote. This includes anything and everything that challenges the official narrative. We're talking 9/11, vaccines, banking conspiracies, whatever you want to go down that conspiracy theory rabbit hole. But even Christian content is now being labeled as dangerous and harmful to society at large. This is disturbing. It's certainly disturbing to me. I mean, my whole channel has been, it's been demonetized, and I'm not the only one. There's lots of us that have gone through this. And it's becoming very, very concerning to me. But again, I think it was a big publicity stunt. And again, the timing is odd because of what YouTube had said. Oh, gosh. I mean, all the conspiracies and everything that's going on. Well, we got something going on there. I heard something in the background, but no big deal. But Christian content's being labeled as dangerous and harmful to society at large. I mean, dangerous, that's big question marks for me. This is interesting, too. Researchers from Texas Tech University, who paid for this study? They believe they've isolated YouTube videos as ground zero for the spread of flat earth theories. The Guardian reports this. It goes on to state normalizing such ideas is absolutely inherently dangerous. Again, here's that word dangerous. What I think is dangerous is you got Hollywood and their sci-fi action and occultism-based films. They depict horrible acts of violence. They glorify sex, drugs, torture, rape. Normalizing those ideas is far more dangerous and harmful to society than flat earth videos. I mean, there's a staggering, it raises some big questions for me. Some internet blogs were citing that Paul's name made Paul complicit in the spread of potentially dangerous, there it is again, potentially dangerous flat earth nonsense, and more harrowingly, its co-ideologies. That's a code word for conspiracy theories, and all of us who actually question the official narrative. Well, now we know who Paul really is. I mean, he's a two-faced, narcissistic, tawdry YouTube corporate b-boy, bought and paid for through and through. I can't explain it any other way. I mean, that's what it seriously looks like to me. And I talked to Robbie Davidson for an hour yesterday, and I've been saying on the net, everybody's got to back off Robbie Davidson. This Logan Paul guy punked him, punked the Flat Earth community. He punked the Flat Earth International Conference, and as disrespectful as that is, I'm still in Robbie Davidson's corner. I don't, everybody's out there calling him a shill and that he was part of this, and I don't think that's the case at all. And I hope to have Robbie Davidson back on the show here sometime in the near future, talking about what's going on with YouTube and the fact that they are doing what they are doing to Flat Earth videos, 9/11 videos, vaccine videos, taking them out of recommendations. I mean, go search a Flat Earth video right now. All you get is junk. But there was a recent op-ed via The Hill. Donald Trump Jr. wrote this. He states, as big tech censorship of conservatives, and I will also put in the word free thinkers, becomes ever more flagrant and overt, the old arguments about protecting the sanctity of the modern public square are now invalid. A right to freely engage in public discourse through speech is under sustained attack, necessitating a vigorous defense against the major social media and internet platforms. From shadow bans on Facebook and Twitter, the demonetization of YouTube videos, to pulled ads for Republican candidates at critical junctures of election campaigns, the list of violations against the online practices and speech of conservatives, and again I will input free thinkers, is very, very long. Thanks to brave Facebook whistleblower who approached James O'Keefe's Project Veritas, we now know that Mark Greenberg, social media giant, developed algorithms to deboost certain content, limiting its distribution and appearance in news feeds. As you probably guessed, this stealth censorship was specifically aimed at conservatives and, again, free thinkers. I got to put in the word right there. We're talking about conspiracy theorists. Okay? We're not conspiracy theorists. We're realists. We take a look at things, we start thinking. But you can see that entire article at Zero Hedge. It's entitled Trump Jr. Fears Big Tech's Conservative Censorship Will Create a Private Social Credit System. That's already kind of happening in China. But a very, very interesting article. It boils down to this. Folks, make no mistake about it. We are facing extreme online fascism, censorship, and an authoritarian speech police across the internet. From New Zealand to Flat Earth and beyond, anything that's considered a conspiracy is going to be attacked and targeted by these techno-fascists, the internet giants. Mike Adams writes recently, and I completely concur with him, we have reached a state of total censorship on the net. This is the beginning of the end of humanity, says Mike Adams, since no voices, views, or opinions that contradict official narratives are going to be allowed anywhere online. He goes on to say, in truth, globalists believe that anyone who thinks for themselves is a threat to public safety. Therefore, all nonconformists, dissenters, independent thinkers, or outspoken voices of truth must be systematically silenced by all the tech giants, including Google, Apple, Twitter, Amazon, YouTube, Snapchat, Pinterest. All this stuff. It just goes on and on and on. But together, they seem to operate this global cabal. It's like an online mafia. We've already been silenced in the mainstream media because they are complicit in not giving us the truth. And thank God for the alternative media, because there's so many people out there, like Sean over at SGT Report. I can only aspire to be like that guy. He's so good at what he does. But there are people like him, people like me, people on TFR, people on other media outlets who are actually out there trying to find what's going on. They're investigating, they're looking into things, they're asking questions. But this online mafia, coupled with the mainstream media and the suppression of real evidence, real truth, they're going to make it difficult for us. It's just becoming, it's getting beyond the point where, I came back to radio at a weird time, man. I wrote a post the other day. It said, I come back to radio and it's like, what the F, man? Seems like the whole world's lost their mind. But this online mafia is just demanding absolute obedience to your irrational demands. So we got to take it to the streets, my brothers and sisters. We've got to move our activism. We've got to move our work, our investigations, our journalism. We've got to move them away from these big corporate giants. You know, and Mike Adams' Brighton, the new video platform, they're already under attack. He did a post the other day, big alert, Brighton.com video platform under extreme threat from internet infrastructure providers forced to delete all New Zealand shooting videos essentially at gunpoint by the globalist controllers of the net. That's very, very concerning. Well, anyway, that's my rant for the day. I want to bring on Darryle Marble. How are you, Darryle? Are you there?
Hey, Sean. How's it going?
I'm doing really well, brother. And you?
Pretty good. Can't complain.
Gotcha.
Nobody would want to hear you if I could anyway, so. Yeah.
Well, I could complain all day long, but nobody would listen to me.
There you go.
Well, it's great. Good. It's great to have you back on the show. It's been a couple of years. You know, I took a 15-month hiatus, but it's glad to. I'm excited to have you back on the show and talk to you again. Like I said, you are the real deal, a very humble guy, and arguably probably the fittest guy in the flat Earth community.
Oh, well, thanks, Sean. Thanks for having me back on. Come on, man.
Well, you were a professional bodybuilder, right?
Well, I've done a few competitions. I used to do some physique competitions back in the day. I started off bodybuilding, so there's some pictures of me on the internet in a red Speedo or something like that. So it's out there, you know, the internet. It's out there for posterity. But yeah, I used to compete. I haven't registered for anything lately, but I have been back in the gym trying to, you know, maintain, you know, a little bit of form that I had. Anyway,
okay. It goes away if you don't stay up with it.
Hey, use it or lose it, man.
Yeah. I love it, man. You got to take care of that meat suit, man. I got to do something about it because my health has kind of gone way down, and you know, I'm trying to get back to this point where I can start taking care of me again. A whole lot of other things changed in my life, but you're vegan too, right?
Let's say, let me see, strict vegetarian. Let's go with that.
Strict vegetarian. I had a prime rib dinner last night, and it made me sick. I'm getting ready to get away from it myself. It seems like every time I eat meat, I don't feel too well, and I'm probably going to go away from it. But I can't. I can't give up eggs and cheese, man.
Well, all right. Well, I think you're good for vegetarian status. I think you're about ready for it.
Yeah, I think so too. You know, go that ovo-lacto route for certain. Darryle, you know, I talked a lot about what's going on this morning with some of this stuff. And first, before we talk about the Logan Paul film, I want to ask you, there's a big question that arises in my head here with all this censorship that's going on. The big question is, why are the techno-fascists, the internet giants, why are they going to such extraordinary lengths to suppress information that they say is nonsense, it's absurd, it's dangerous, it's unhealthy to promote these types of ideologies? Why are they going to such lengths to suppress it if there isn't something to it? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts are just along the lines of a simple man. You know, if the mainstream media is telling you that you need to stay away from a topic, that it's nonsense, it's ridiculous, it's dangerous, not worth your time, and they're constantly telling you that, you most definitely need to look into it because, I mean, they're a known propaganda machine. Now, I don't agree with everything that Trump says for sure, but I can't agree with it when he calls CNN and these other mainstream organizations fake news. And these are the same ones.
First time I heard him say that in a press conference, I about fell off my chair. I was so shocked.
Yeah. You know, I can agree with him on that. So he's saying that they're fake news concerning the political stuff, but and people will agree with him on that. But when they hear the same companies talking about, we found 7 new planets, you know, new solar systems have been discovered, and we may inhabit them sometime in the future. We have a little remote control car on Mars, you know, a rover and all that, you know, that they'll believe the same places, but these same outlets are the ones that they'll agree are fake news. So there's kind of mental contradiction, a little cognitive dissonance going on there.
Would you say that? I mean, I look at Trump, and there's a lot of things that he's been silent about that I have explored over the years. I mean, he's been silent about the fake war on terror. He's been on. I always say terror. I'm sorry. People go, "What did he say?" He just said terror. It's the war on planet Earth, plane of Earth, but the war on terror. But he's been silent about the Fed, the Rothschilds. He's been silent about the New World Order and the 5G control grid. He's been silent about 9/11 truth, obviously, false flags, mass shootings, Israel's crimes in Gaza. He's been silent about secret societies and CFR, Bilderberger, CIA abuses. That silence is speaking volumes to me. It's like, do you think he's so compartmentalized that he doesn't really have I mean, this is a smart guy. I mean, he's got to know what's going on, Darryle.
Yeah, I believe that he has a lot of information as far as what's going on, and that silence. Okay, I could look at it from either way. I could look at it from the perspective of attempting to justify what he does, or devil's advocate, and I really can't stand playing that role, because who would really want to advocate for the devil? But if you want to go along with why he doesn't talk about those things, you know, someone could just easily dismiss it by saying, well, he's the president, so he can't just come straight out and say all this stuff. You know, he is supportive in the idea that he's got a lot going on with the Q movement. Are you familiar with that, Sean?
Absolutely. In fact, I was going to bring that up. I mean, I don't know if you've watched the serial Brain 2 stuff.
Sometimes. I haven't lately. You know, I've been more on Space Shot and a couple other folks. Dave Janda, I believe, he covers that stuff. So I'll just listen to those guys and move on from there, and just to kind of keep an eye on the pulse, you know. But people could justify Trump not saying anything about those things because he already knows, and he's working with this elite small unit of military intelligence operatives who are, dropping these breadcrumbs and deconstructing the cabal. So he doesn't really have to say anything because, according to the Q movement, he's working with the Patriots to take them all out anyway. Right. But you said he hasn't said anything about 5G. Oh, he said some things about 5G. He's saying on his Twitter that he wants to, expand 5G, and that he wants it to increase the production or the rollout of it, is what he said. Now, Again, the Q people would say, well, that's because he's trying to compartmentalize it and trying to take control over it so the deep state doesn't take control over it. So, I mean, you can look at it from either way. Trump seems to be a wild card, but who knows, man?
It's a trip. The whole QAnon thing and the drops and the fact that they seem to be communicating and decoding via gematria, timestamps on Twitter, and what the maestro is saying, that there's these coded messages that he's trying to communicate to the people, and the wall that he's talking about isn't a physical wall on the border. It is a wall protecting the American people from the deep state cabal that are trying to induce full mind control on the people through 5G and 6G technology. I thought that was very fascinating when I saw that particular video. And, I wonder, is the guy doing something behind the scenes? I mean, you got David Wilcock out there talking about, secret military tribunals and high, very prominent level officials in the elite being arrested and taken to Guantanamo.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
I've heard about. Yeah, I've been following all this stuff. Look, I'll tell you what. Here's the canary in the coal mine for me. When I see Hillary Clinton in cuffs, then I'll believe it. Until then, that's about it. That's because it's obvious. Okay, being that I'm a contractor. All right, and what happens is there's an annual training program that you have to go through. It's cyber awareness, and one of the main points in that cyber awareness training is the handling of classified information. And there are so many different levels that you have to go through in order to handle classified information that, you have to have a security clearance. It has to be in a special room inside a secured building facility, and there's safeguards against information spillage of classified information. And the setup of a personal server in her basement or wherever it was, and nobody's guarding the front door, and she's transmitting classified information and leaking that out to different people, she should have been in prison a long time ago. But everybody knows that she did it, and everybody knows that any average citizen that would have done just a fraction of what she did. You know, there was the one guy that was in the Navy that just took a few pictures in the lower deck of the submarine, and there was some instruments in there on those pictures that he wasn't supposed to take a picture of. And I mean, he was put in jail for a couple of years for that, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
You know, so I mean, that was a fraction of what Hillary Clinton did, but she hasn't been held accountable. So that just speaks to the public that there's a two-tier justice system. Is for, you know, the insiders, the ones that are part of the big club, and you know, there's the average citizens, and that causes people to lose faith in that whole system. So when I see Hillary Clinton being held accountable, that's when I'll know that it's real.
Yeah,
Until then,
Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, and the whole Clinton Crime Foundation needs to be held accountable. They got a trail of dead bodies behind them in all of their political campaigns. It's absurd. The evidence is overwhelming, and they need to be held accountable. Absolutely. We're going to be right back. Talk more with Darryle Marble. We're going to get into some flat Earth and some of his experiments. And stay tuned.
No fear. We are TFR.
Frequency Radio.
I'll bust it one time. Truth and liberty. Fighting the new world order and the tyranny. The Awakening Liberty Show with Sean Caron.
And we are back, the Awakening Liberty Show, right here on truthfrequencyradio.com. We are live and worldwide, all across America, all around the world. The number to call in is 213-233-3998. If you'd like to join the conversation, again, that number is 213-233-3998. My guest today is Darryle Marble, and we've been talking about a lot of things. And for those of you that aren't up to speed on Q and what's going on, I would really kind of. And we know, I mean, it's a huge YouTube channel, almost 145,000 subscribers. LT over there brings the serial brain stuff up, and you might want to check into it because I've been watching it with a lot of interest. I don't fully understand all the gematria and all the decoding and how they're coming up with these alleged secret communications to avoid national security laws, and how Trump or the maestro is communicating with the American people about what's going on with the deep state. But it's very interesting. Go to And We Know on YouTube. And I've invited LT to come on the show and talk a little bit about this. Hopefully we can get him booked because what's going on with this whole Q thing, I'm still out a little bit, but it's fascinating material, absolutely. So, Darryle, got to ask you, what did you think of the Logan Paul film?
Let me see. I'll try to be nice about this. I thought it was garbage, Sean, actually. Okay, so what I saw from that, I looked at it from a couple of different angles. That, I mean, obviously it was a hit piece, it was a mockumentary, and the thing that bugs me is that thought that he and his friends sat around and came up with this idea, this whole scheme, because not only did they deceive the flat earth community, he deceived a lot of the bigger YouTube channels on that platform also. He deceived just everyone into thinking that he was actually sincere in coming out as a flat earther or sincere in his journey to take a more open-minded approach to the topic, because there were videos made by larger YouTube channels calling him an idiot for even considering it. And then, I mean, there was even a tweet by the Flat Earth Society distancing themselves from Logan Paul. Now, in the Flat Earth community, we know that the Flat Earth Society is a controlled opposition, government-funded PSYOP organization. They give about 10% truth and 90% nonsense. But to have them come out and distance themselves from Logan Paul, that's still kind of a head scratcher. But just the thing that it's like the mentality of someone to come out with that kind of idea, that type of plan, like, okay, so I'm going to get in here, I'm going to gain these people's trust. They're going to, I'm going to go to the conference and hey, I'm going to ask Robbie Davidson if I can get on the stage. Of course he's going to let me get on the stage, and I'm going to do the mic drop and all that. It's going to be great. That's definitely going into the documentary. And I mean, it was like from start to finish, he was a massive troll in that whole movie. So, from here we just have to be more careful with how we engage with these celebrity types or these larger individuals with a larger platform at this point, because I'm right. saying we're still learning. We're still learning, but as far as dealing with that guy, we've lessons learned.
Absolutely. And Robbie Davidson put it really well. He said, he also kind of said the same thing as far as lesson learned. He said it was a bad judgment call to let him get up on stage. Robbie expressed to me that he actually felt that this was real, that he was sincere about all of this. And that's why I say, cut Robbie some slack. And, let's not get out there. There's enough haters in the movement already. There's enough dissent. There's enough division. We don't need that. And for those of us who are simply questioning our reality and what the world is and where we live, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing harmful. There's nothing dangerous about it. And I have to refer back to that Texas Tech University study and the researchers. They believe they isolated YouTube videos as ground zero for the spread of flat earth theories. That's complete and utter nonsense. Up until 500 years ago, people thought the world was flat. It's not a new thing. There's been a resurgence, yes, but it's not a new thing.
That's right. And I mean, anyone can pull up, you can type in a search for DuckDuckGo. Most people use Google, something like that. And you can type in flat earth ancient civilizations, and you're going to come up with that meme that shows that, the Hindu, the Norse, the Vedics, like all these different societies back, in the older days, they all had a model, and their understanding of the world was that the Earth was flat, stationary, and covered by a dome. Is in the depiction most of the time. So,
right, and Sean on SGT Report, he came out with had Crow on. I thought it was a great show. And while Sean didn't say he was a flat earther, he said he was a globe as we're told skeptic. And I completely relate to that. I've referred to myself as a baller skeptic, regardless of the shape of this planet, because I still say, well, maybe it's far bigger than we're being told. Maybe that would account for the fact that we can't find any curvature, at least based on the math that we're being given, maybe the lies that we're being given about the size of the alleged globe. Who knows? But at this point, there's something wrong with the curvature math. That's obvious. And actually, there's been some PhD scientists that have agreed with that. It's like, why can I see that lighthouse at 200 miles? It shouldn't be there. Why can people at sea see those lighthouses? They shouldn't be able to do that. And there's a lot of stuff that's gone on about the lighthouses as well. Obviously, the Chicago skyline. Let's talk a little bit about what you did. You did a great video on your YouTube channel. And first of all, give everybody your YouTube channel so they can come check out your work.
My YouTube channel is D.Marble. It's just, my initial and my last name. I was going to change it, but it was too late by the time anybody got to know me. So it's just D Marble. I talk a lot of flat Earth and other topics there, but primarily flat Earth. I've been participating in some street activism lately, but we can talk more about that later. But about the laser test, I was here in Washington. It was August 18th. And I conducted a laser test with a friend of mine, actually a coworker, name's Mark, and he has 3,000 milliwatt laser with a 12.5 mile range to it. And our thing was that we're going to find a couple of points over the Puget Sound where you can fire that laser over the water, and I can observe it from the distance where you're at, and we'll post a video with the numbers, and I think that'll be cool. Real simple, real basic type of situation. But what happened on August 18th, we did that. We did a quick live stream explaining what we were going to be doing. He went to Owen Beach at Point Defiance here in Washington, and I went to Des Moines, Washington, which is about 15 miles up the road. And I went to Saltwater State Park. Now, from the beach at Saltwater State Park to the point where Mark was at Owen Beach at Point Defiance, that's a 10.3 mile stretch of water. Now, according to the spherical trigonometry of a globe that's 24,901 miles in circumference, the equation for curvature calculation is 8 inches per mile squared. Now, at a distance of 10.3 miles between us, there was 70.72 feet of curvature, or there was supposed to be. But during that live stream, we got to a point to where Mark was pretty much firing his laser directly at me from where I was. And there was a point where I was live streaming with my phone, and I was recording his laser with my Nikon P900, which was only about 3 feet above sea level. And Mark's laser was about 8.5 feet above the water because he had it up on the walkway. And that was about 60 feet of missing curvature there between us. And there was even a point where, I'm talking to the audience. There was about 150 people on the live stream, and I bring the phone down to where it's almost in the water, and we could all still see the blue beam, indicating that we could see the origin source of that laser from 10 miles away when it should have been hidden behind the curvature. So, I mean, I would have to ask anyone who's still believing that the Earth is a globe, well, either the calculations for getting the curvature, dialed in, either that's wrong and the Earth is flat, or the Earth is a lot bigger than we've been taught. I'm going to go with the surface of water is always flat. I'm going to go with that. And if most of the Earth is covered in water, then that means that the Earth is flat. It's a simple, 1+1 type of situation there.
Yeah, it's not equal in 3. And that's another thing that's being brought up. For me, there are several things about the flat Earth theory and the model and the AE maps and what map is right and what model is right that I just can't come to grips with everything. But in the Coriolis effect and this type of thing. But at the same time, water always finds its level. I mean,
yep.
I'm not going to look in a glass of water and see a bubble, unless it's been manipulated, of course. But we have, and I did the same type of test, although we didn't use a laser, but we had a very, very high power binoculars 12 miles away across Pyramid Lake on a beautiful, beautiful night. And we could see a campfire on the southern shore 12 miles away. This really made me scratch my head, Darryle. And that's when I actually said, okay, I got to look more into flat Earth.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I say this all the time. Once I didn't really take a whole lot of time to go from, globe to questioning the globe or being a globe skeptic to being a flat earther. I came across flat Earth as a topic, and once I heard it, I heard water always finds its level. I went back to thoughts of going fishing with my pops back in Arkansas, and we would wake up really early, get out on the water about 5 in the morning when it's still, really quiet. The fish aren't jumping, disrupting the water. And I remember as a kid looking across the water, and the surface of the water it looked like a mirror, a perfect reflection, and that can only happen on a flat surface. So I mean, it wasn't that tough to me.
Yeah, it took me some time. I mean, I went through the stages. I'm like, no, this can't be true. I started actually looking at flat Earth around 2003, 2004, but I was so heavy at that point into getting into 9/11 research that I just kind of put it on the shelf. But then I was going through my videos the other day, Darryle, and I interviewed Mark Sargent in July of 2015 on my old radio network. I was on Blog Talk Radio. In fact, I listened to the show and I'm like, wow, this was horrible sound. But, it goes all the way. I've been around for a while. 2015, after watching Flat Earth Clues, and he brought up so many things like the planes and the fact that these flight paths are just ridiculous, how they fly around, and the disappearing planes from the southern hemisphere. All that stuff really started me really researching. But I went through all the stages, Darryle, because my own cognitive dissonance. I mean, for God's sakes, I was from the time I was in a crib, I had the mobile of the solar system above my crib. I mean, before we can even form a rational thought, we're being, told, hey, the Earth's a globe. We're spinning through this heliocentric model at extraordinary rates of speed, yet everything stays in the same place.
Yeah. I know. We were all taught the same stuff, man. So, it takes longer for some, and I feel like I'm kind of the anomaly. I hear a lot of people saying, yeah, we all started off when we heard flat Earth, we said it was a joke and we were trying to debunk it. I never actually tried to debunk flat Earth, honestly. I'd already. So here's the thing. You were already, deeply involved in 9/11 research. I had already felt like I had finished my 9/11 research by the time, flat Earth came around. I was in the Army. I got out in 2008. And there was a period there where, I was looking for a job and I had a little time on my hands. So, you end up going down the rabbit hole with all that, and I didn't like TV. So I probably cut off the cable back in like 2006, and we were just watching things online anyway. So, go down the rabbit hole. I had looked into 9/11 when I get out of the Army. So by the time Flat Earth came around, you go from 9/11 to the Masons to the Illuminati, Bilderbergers, all this other stuff. And, the false flags, Operation Northwoods, just the fiat currency system, you name it. We got into all kinds of stuff. And by that point, we had figured, the government lied about all this other stuff. Yeah, they would probably lie about the shape of the Earth, too. Or the powers who are controlling the people in government, the educational system, the politicians and all that. Yeah, there's the scientific community, the mainstream scientific community, or the scientism religion, as it were,
The cult of scientism.
Yeah, they are, they've deceived us about so much other stuff. So, yeah, they would probably lie about the shape of the Earth, sure.
Yeah. And here's the big question. I see this on Facebook all the time. Is, okay, so if the Earth is flat, tell me why. Why would they lie about our reality? Why would they lie about what we're living on? What is your answer to that?
Why would they lie about our reality? Well, here, look. Short answer is for control. Because, this comes in layers. Now, according to the globe model, we're told that we all started from this big bang explosion billions of years ago. Nothing exploded into everything, creates the perfect order that we have now. The Earth found itself orbiting around the sun. Single-celled organisms formed in the primordial ooze, crawled onto the land, turned into lizards, turned into monkeys, then monkeys turned into man. Okay. I'm sure I skipped a few steps, but you get the gist of it. Right. That's the evolution, the theory of evolution there. So with that, you're taught that you're on a globe and that there are these other countless star systems, these other galaxies in this infinite expanding space out here. It's ever expanding, always infinite, and there's other living organisms out there. I was into that. There was a video that I used to watch. It was called The Known Universe. And it started from the Himalayan mountains, and it would zoom out and show the whole country, and then it would show the whole globe, then it would show the whole solar system, then it would show the whole galaxy, and it will keep zooming out and out and out and out, farther back and farther back, until it got to a point to where it says, this is the known universe. This is all that we have mapped out. And it will go out billions of miles away. Once
Sagan, billions and billions and
once it would go out those billions and billions of miles away from the Earth, you would feel small, really, really small, because you're like, each one of these little lights is a whole galaxy, and we're just one of those little lights. And you see all these lights in the sky at night. Each one of those lights is another galaxy, and so it makes you feel small and insignificant. It brings down your whole sense of self-worth. And if you have a population of people who don't value themselves, then they end up not valuing other people. And that makes them a little easier to control. So the short answer is to control people, to control our minds. That's government. That's those two words. Govern, that means to control, and mental mentality, that's dealing with the mind. It's mind control, and that's what government's all about.
It is mind control. They're doing it on so many different levels. I mean, for me, my short answer to that is the reason they're lying is because we know we've got a bunch of evil wackos who are probably aligned with the enemy. On the show, we're Christians. Satan, Lucifer.
Yeah.
They are aligned
Absolutely.
with them, and they are hiding. Actually, they are suppressing the fact that there is evidence that there was a creative. I mean, this was created. There is a God, and they are hiding that.
Yep. I mean, that was one of my reasons. I did a video a while ago, and I had 5 different reasons why they would lie, because we get that question so often. I just covered those things. I'm like, absolutely. They could be hiding more land. They could be suppressing free energy technology. They're hiding God also. They're hiding our history. They're hiding our potential as people. All of that, mind control, money, you name it. There's plenty of reasons why they would lie. It's just that when we get that question from people, they haven't thought about it. Because if you would sit down and think about it for a little bit, you can come up with at least 3 reasons why they would lie. Yeah,
at least 3.
Right, at least 3.
And again, here we go back to the idea. Well, maybe it is okay. Maybe we're on a globe. Let's assume we're on a globe, but it's huge. It's the size of Jupiter, or maybe the size of our sun, and they're hiding all of this landmass for what? I mean, obviously they're trying to control us there too, if that is the case. And then we look at Admiral Byrd and the whole Operation High Jump, and then we had Operation Fishbowl, which was just lunacy, launching nuclear weapons into the stratosphere and exploding. Well, what the heck were they trying to do there?
Yeah, good question. Sounds like as far as Operation High Jump, they were looking for the what we would call the edge, or what the modern society would call the edge. And then as far as Operation Fishbowl, from Project Dominic meaning of the Lord in Latin, I believe it is. So in that project, Fishbowl of the Lord, that is, if you look at both of those, they're firing those nukes up to test the ceiling, to see the distance up there. So I guess they could fire those missiles, and they would show the elevation at which the explosion took place due to impact. So I think that's what that might have been about.
Yeah, I think they were trying to hit the firmament. They figured out, well, we can't get out of here, so let's see if we can break up the dome.
Yeah, that sounds like kind of that whole Tower of Babel story, doesn't it? Just a little bit.
Well, and NASA, just the name alone raises questions, but they were trying to get up there to get to God. So that's my answer to that as well. Let's talk a little bit about your activism. And I love the fact your whole van life thing, and you're driving around this van that's basically got all this flat Earth stuff on it. What kind of looks do you get, man? Do you get people just looking at you like you're crazy? Do you get people giving you thumbs up? What's the deal?
Oh, of course. I get mixed responses for my mobile flat Earth billboard. I'll get people stopping in traffic from time to time. Older gentlemen will say, "What about gravity?" They'll want to have a conversation at a stoplight. Let me see. It was a few days ago. There was a mother and her son is in the passenger seat. She's like, got her son taking a picture of it, and she's like, "He's gonna look into it." I'm like, good. I get a lot of positive responses. The funniest one was a time where I was out. I was up north, and I was coming from like Bellevue going to Seattle, and I was going over this long bridge, and it was going over a body of water, and the bridge was really close to the water. And on the side of my van it says Earth's surface is 71% water, bodies of water do not curve, therefore the Earth is flat. So I'm driving to Seattle over a body of water, and an elderly couple pull up next to me, and grandma gives me the finger. So it's a lot of fun responses that I get from this thing. Lately it's been people recognizing me in traffic because I've been doing the van life thing for about 2 years now. So I've been driving around the same area with this van for 2 years, and people are starting to recognize me. They're like, "Oh yeah, that's D. What's up? Oh hey D, what's going on?" Getting a little bit of that.
There's that crazy flat Earth bodybuilder dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I saw you parked over there, man. What's up? I get that a lot now. A lot of people recognizing me in day-to-day life. I go, get something to eat at this Mexican restaurant that I frequent. And this guy's like, "Dude, you D Marble?" I'm like, "Yeah, what's up?" "Hey man, I watch your stuff." I'm like, "Thank you." Take a picture real quick, and I mean it's been cool.
Yeah, that's great, man. I think that's a great place to start with activism. In fact, in the next segment, we're going to talk a little bit about activism and the fact that there's so much censorship going on the social media platforms, and what we need to do to get some of this out there. I mean, what you're doing with the van is awesome. I have a shirt because my buddy of mine down in Reno started Flat Earth Pizza. Great place. I don't know if you ever saw that video, but he was on my show too. And, I walked into a store the other day and I had my Flat Earth Pizza shirt on. And the guy looked up at me and goes, "You a flat earther?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, pretty much." He goes, "Cool, dude, man. Right on. I really appreciate that." It was like, wow, it's just this guy behind the register at a mini mart,
Yeah. We're everywhere, man. We're everywhere.
And I think go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Well, no, I was going to say, actually, I have a T-shirt from Flat Earth Pizza.
Yeah, Ryan Walker, I'm going to send a shout out to you, brother. We got to hook up again. I'm 4 hours away from Reno now, but Flat Earth Pizza is very cool. Good pizza also. Did Ryan send it to you, or did you hook up with him at a conference?
Oh, he gave it to me at the conference. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, we were going to go together, but boy, I just had so much going on in my life. I couldn't make it out to Raleigh. I couldn't make it out to Denver. I might go to Dallas. We'll talk a little bit about that in the next segment. Everybody stay tuned. We're going to talk more with Darryle Marble in the next segment, and just stay tuned.
Truth Frequency Radio is your number. This is Truth Frequency Radio.
The wicked ones obviously under heavy Masonic influence.
Hi, everyone. This is Sean from the Awakening Liberty Show. Are you and your family prepared for an emergency? Have you ever thought about investing in food and water storage? Well, if you have, I urge you to check out my one-stop prepper shop. AwakeningLibertyStore.com carries the full line of legacy premium, non-GMO, made-in-USA emergency food storage and survival gear. Folks, I've tried them all, and Legacy Premium is the best I've found. Boasting the lowest cost per pound, the lowest cost per calorie, and the largest serving size in the industry, Legacy Premium is simply the best. Not to mention it was voted best tasting in blind taste tests, and I personally concur. Shop AwakeningLibertyStore.com and use coupon code PATRIOT for a special listener discount, or call me personally at 775-276-4046. Once again, AwakeningLibertyStore.com.
And we are back. Hour number 2 of the Awakening Liberty Show right here on truthfrequencyradio.com. It's great to be back behind the microphone today, as I do every Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. You know, I was on TFR for a long time. I had to take a hiatus for about 15 months. So new time, new day, new slot. Hey, I hope y'all can join me every Saturday morning. We got lots of great stuff coming up. Check out AwakeningLibertyShow.com. Again, you can go to AwakeningLibertyShow.com. You can check out a full calendar of my upcoming guests. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff. Obviously, today we got Darryle Marble. We're going to have next week, we're going to have James Freed back on the show. He's always an interesting guest to have. We're going to be talking about hemp, food, and self-sufficiency in these crazy times. We're also going to be bringing on Judith Berry Baker. I can't wait for that one. We're going to take a look at the JFK assassination. We're going to talk about Turn the Tide, the 7th annual JFK Assassination Conference coming up in November. It's November 21st to the 24th, the week after the Flat Earth International Conference in Dallas. I'll probably be there all week, but really looking forward to that show. April 6th, we're going to have Brother Josh on. We're going to be talking about Foundations of Torah. Questions, answers, and debate. Tune in live. We're going to take on this controversial subject, Renewed Covenant Ministries, to Torah or not to Torah. That's going to be the big question. And then on April 20th, I can't wait for this show too, Michael from On Point Preparedness. He's going to join me to talk about Noahide laws and their Hebrew roots movement in Christianity, what the dangers are, what the agenda is. So I'm going to be taking this whole controversy on. I'm just going to smack it right in the face, man, because I believe it's an unavoidable topic. It's something that needs to happen. Back to Darryle Marble. Thanks again for joining me today. It's great to have you on the show again.
Thanks for having me on, Sean. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, brother. Hey, so let's talk a little bit more about activism. Obviously, with all the censorship that we got going on, what do we need to do to get people to wake up? Because I'm really seeing this happen pretty soon. You're not going to be able to catch all this stuff on YouTube. You're not going to be able to see it on Facebook. You're not going to be seeing it on social media platforms. It's going to be, I mean, we're talking about George Orwell here. I mean, full suppression of anybody that challenges the official narrative of things for themselves. What do we need to do? We got to get off of social media, right?
Well, we can't totally abandon it just yet. While we still have social media and platforms like YouTube, we have to continue to use them to our advantage as best we can. But as far as the reduction in recommendations, what we can do is have our own playlists of our favorite flat earth videos, maybe 3 to 5, maybe however many you want to put on it, and we can link people that we communicate with online to our favorite flat earth playlist, what we deem to be the best information as far as getting someone started on this whole thing. So there's that. We could screenshot our favorite channels and recommend our favorite channels and get people to go directly to the sources that we would recommend for them, because YouTube isn't going to do it. So we kind of have to have our recommendations go out, for ourselves,
Yeah, I agree. Now, I've seen these flat earth meetups that are happening around the country. In fact, when I met this guy the other day at the mini mart up here, I thought, well, maybe I should start a flat earth meetup here in Elko. I mean, I'm in the middle of nowhere, northeastern Nevada, at the base of the Ruby Mountains. a lot of conservative Christian cowboys out here. This for them is an odd subject, and they're going to look at you like you're nuts. But again, I met this guy in the mini mart. I'm like, well, maybe we should do a flat Earth meetup out here. When we go out and do these things, I mean, you've done some of these. What's been your response?
The response is always pretty positive. There, the last meetup, and I really bad at putting these events together. The last meetup I went to, there were more flat earthers out in the patio area than there were people inside the venue that we were at. So, I mean, it's growing. The feedback that I get is, it's always positive, pretty much. But, it's just a matter of, we need to have more. We need to just be out and get people to understand the positive aspect of face-to-face interaction with like-minded individuals. So I'll recommend meetups for anyone, most definitely.
Do you when you go to a meetup or when you organize one of these things, do you have brochures, pamphlets, information that you hand out? What do you do there?
Typically, I'll just show up. Honestly, somebody usually has to put the thing together, and I'll show up and I'll support it. I'll put it out there like, hey, we're having a meetup at this place. These guys let me know. There's the venue. There's the time, place. There's going to be some food. We'll probably have a microphone there so we can get some people on the mic and chat a little bit about their experience, their journey, and all. There's usually going to be some handouts that we have, definitely going to be some cards, pamphlets, flyers, and all that to hand out at the next one. Because I support flatearth101.com as far as activism materials, or those things that you will want to take with you. I got a banner from them. David Gessner, he hooked me up with a banner and a stand for it, and that's what I've been using to do my street activism. So, there will be a little more organization in these in the future. Hopefully, we can get some more organized type people. I'm kind of impulsive, actually. So, I'll have the idea for a meetup, and then I'll just put it on Facebook like, hey, I'm going to be here in 3 hours. Who wants to hang out? Not a whole lot of forewarning on my part. I'm kind of spontaneous like that, but
you kind of qualify as a flat earth celebrity. So just having you at a meetup would be great. If I get one going down here, I'll have to invite you down if you feel like taking a trip in your van.
Hey, if you can make it a weekend, I might be able to come out.
No, that'd be awesome, man. And so again, if we're gonna do these flat Earth meetups, I mean, the other thing that, I've seen Flat Earth 101 too. It seems to me like you and I, again, we're a little bit different in the fact that we were into a lot of the conspiratorial ideas before Flat Earth, but it seems that people are coming to Flat Earth now, first and foremost, and then they're moving on to things like 9/11, the geoengineering, the banking cabals, obviously the Luciferian wackos who are involved in these pedophile rings. There's the Clinton again. He's hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein out there on the island and running the Lolita boat there. That's just crazy to me. And it's that stuff's got to stop. Most people are not aware of those. Even when they come to Flat Earth now, I'm noticing the younger generation, they do not have a single clue as to what is really going on in the world.
Right. And actually, while I'm out, I see myself as a recruiter for truth. Whatever truth you may find yourself involved in, if it's 9/11, chemtrails, whatever it may be. But my target audience is people who have absolutely no idea about any of this stuff. So what I like to do is introduce them to Flat Earth, spark the thought that we've been deceived about this, and this is where everything takes place. So I want them to ask the question, what else have we been deceived about? What else is going on? What else have we been misled concerning in our lives, our day-to-day situation? And they would lie about everything. Obviously, what else would they lie about? Everything is the answer. And I want people to, come to that conclusion and then get on the way, continue their journey. So you can just, we'll come to a point, hopefully, where we're not flat earthers. We're just individuals who know that the earth is flat, amongst other things.
Right. I completely agree with you, because there's so many. I actually, I'm starting to write a book. It's in its basic phases right now. It's just starting out, getting the outlines together. But I'm going to call it Links in the Chain. And through it, I'm going to go through all of the things that brought me to truth when I finally, and I got to say 9/11, well, I look back. You're a bass player, but I played music years ago, and some of the songs that I wrote, I go back and I listen to the lyrics, and I'm like, I knew something was wrong then. You can hear it in my lyrics. But I didn't understand what was happening. And when I realized that 9/11 wasn't what they told us was, that's when I went, wait a minute. If they can pull this kind of thing off, how many times have they done it in the past historically? I mean, we're going to look at the Reichstag fire. I mean, this has happened. These types of psyops, these government false flags, have happened over and over again. But when I got into 9/11, I went, wait a minute. That's when it all broke open for me. That's when it became these links in the chain. And as I started adding them up, as I started looking at all of them, that's when I started to realize there was a bigger picture.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great title for a book, by the way.
Yeah, it popped up. Nobody steal that from me now. Nobody steal that from me. But yeah, I'm going to try to get it together. I've got a good friend of mine who's a writer, and hopefully he'll be on the show too, Michael Howell. He wrote a book called Anatomy of a Global Agenda, and hopefully he'll be on the show, and we'll talk about his book. And he's a writer, and hopefully he can help me through this, because writing a book that's a big feat. Absolutely. So as far as activism goes, I agree with you completely there. The other thing I want to talk about, too, is this whole thing with NASA and the EU space agencies now telling us that the moon is within the Earth's atmosphere. This is a little odd, don't you think?
I think that's extremely odd, Sean. Also seeing as how, okay, so now that the moon is inside the Earth's atmosphere, we have to think about the implications of that. First off, we've been browbeaten by these globe believers, these heliocentric enthusiasts for years, with this condescending attitude as if they have everything figured out, only to find out in 2019 there just happened to be some information laying around for about 20 years, is that what the report says, to where they now come to the conclusion that the moon is inside the Earth's atmosphere. And what that sounds like to me is that, well, one, that kind of puts a damper on the credibility of these trusted scientific gurus, because, well, I thought they had this stuff figured out. What happened?
Yeah, they said we went to the moon, right? You guys couldn't figure this out then?
Yeah. They went to the moon, and 6 times. They navigated through the Van Allen radiation belts, which also happen to be within the Earth's atmosphere, apparently. So there was that, and then it just kind of shattered their credibility as far as having everything figured out. So I think it's just them trying to play damage control to keep up with what we're exposing in the flat Earth community, because we've been saying that the moon's not 239,000 miles away. Actually, the moon's pretty close. And here's my P900, my Nikon P900. I can zoom in on the moon and show you all these details. And you're telling me that this camera has 239,000 mile zoom to where I can, get such fine detail on this object that's so far away? That's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, we've been telling people that the moon's close, and I believe that this is kind of a soft disclosure of that fact. So it's interesting situation we got going on here.
Yeah, you said the word right off the bat is damage control. It's like people are starting to wake up, and NASA's trying to figure out what they can do about this. There's some problems with this because, again, the first one came to mind was the fact that they should have known this when we went to the moon, or they said we went to the moon.
Right.
But at this point, also, there's a problem. If this space study is really accurate, it means that human beings have never left Earth's atmosphere. Exactly.
So in essence, they're admitting that no human being has ever gone to space. Basically.
Right.
That's another one of those implications. That's so it's It's crazy. It's crazy. And then you think about these movies that you see. There are usually these space movies where it shows a rocket or an asteroid or something coming back into the Earth's atmosphere, and then it catches fire as it's coming back into the atmosphere. Now we have to go back and question all that. Like, wait a minute, it's not coming back into the Earth's atmosphere because now the Earth's atmosphere extends beyond the moon. So what the heck is that?
Right. Yeah.
But
they're still claiming it's a vacuum, even though it's within the. This doesn't make any sense to me. I'm going to see if I can play a clip here for some people. This is odd because this came from Astronauts Gone Wild or something like that. But this is Alan Bean, because you mentioned the Van Allen radiation belts, and I thought this was very interesting when he talked about this. It's about a 2-minute clip, but I'd like you to get your thoughts on this, and I'd like to play it for people because they need to understand that I don't even think these alleged astronauts who, by the way, I'm going to say, I believe they went to the moon. I believe they went into space. You want to talk about MK Ultra, mind control, hypnosis. Something's going on here because I believe these people believe that they did this. But this is Alan Bean talking about the Van Allen radiation belts.
Any ill effects from the Van Allen radiation belts?
No. Now, I'm not sure we went far enough out to encounter the Van Allen radiation belt. Maybe we did.
When it was pointed out that the flight pattern took him through the belts, he changed his story.
The belts are 1,000 miles to 25,000 miles above the Earth.
We went right out through them.
No effects on yourselves?
We didn't even know it. I don't think anybody, well, maybe somebody said you went through the radiation belt, but we didn't feel it inside, and we didn't get any, added radiation.
The space shuttle went to 365 miles a few years ago because I worked in news. I saw CNN. They said that the radiation belts surrounding Earth are more dangerous than previously believed because the astronauts saw shooting stars with their eyes closed. When they got within 600.
Radiation belt. We saw shooting stars, but they're not shooting stars with your eyes closed, although they look like it. If you're out in space beyond the Van Allen belt, and probably within the Van Allen belt, and close your eyes and just pay attention. You don't notice it unless you pay attention. Then all of a sudden you'll see a little flash like a shooting star, except it's like that. There goes one this way. Then one just blossoms. And then not that fast. Maybe you wait 3 minutes or 2 minutes and one goes whoosh. And what's happening is cosmic rays are hitting the back of your eye and exciting those sensors in the back of your eye. So that's what you see. And they got high enough apparently to close it. My guess is in Earth orbit, if you closed your eyes and just paid attention, that you would see them.
The first time they were seen was when they went to 365 miles.
Yes.
That's 650 miles below or away from the radiation.
Yeah, see, it's below. My guess if they just did it tonight. But see, if you're just going to sleep or closing your eyes or it's dark, you don't notice them. But if you'll close your eyes and pay attention, which we had an experiment to do, by the way, then you see them whistling by. Not on our mission, by the way, they hadn't been discovered yet. Hadn't been discovered yet. Hadn't been discovered yet. Hadn't been discovered yet.
Hadn't been discovered yet?
Hadn't been discovered yet.
That was a load of poppycock. It's like, oh, they're not really there because we hadn't discovered them yet.
Yeah. That goes along with that saying, what you don't know won't hurt you.
Absolutely. And then you have NASA coming out now saying, look, we can't go to Mars because the radiation is far more dangerous than we thought. In fact, if you go out of Earth's atmosphere and you fly into deep space, you are going to die. The radiation is far too dangerous. So again, there's NASA admitting, look, we can't get above low Earth orbit.
Yep, that's what I call heliocentric contradictions right there.
So how could we have gone to the moon? They're going to have to come out eventually and explain this because it's got to be the biggest heist in world history.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. This is the biggest commitment of fraud ever. Because you can think about if any individual, any business on a fraction of the scale of NASA got away with what they get away with. I mean, you're selling the public this idea of space travel. You're telling them that these pictures are real, that we're getting from these agencies and all that. And it comes out that no, they're actually falsifying these things. We have astronauts saying that we would go back to the moon, but we destroyed the technology. But it's 2019. We don't have technology sufficient to do the same thing that we had back in 1969. Are you serious? That's why we haven't been back to the moon. You got that guy Rob Simmons admitting that going through details about how he pieced together these composite images to create the blue marble, and him saying verbatim, it is photoshopped, but it has to be. So we're given all this information passed off as real, and it's not real. It's not legit. It's not valid. And yet they're still collecting this money. If any other business was collecting money from the citizens and providing a faulty, falsified product, they would be put in jail.
Yeah, again, I got to say it's the biggest heist in world history, because the amount of money that NASA gets is off the hook.
$56 million a day? $56 million a day. Come on. That's crazy.
And yeah, all that money that you guys gave us, and we don't have the technology anymore to fly back to the moon. BS. And I got to say this, because this is something I bring up quite often. And to those who condemn before investigation, and to those who cite that scientists, professors, astrophysicists, and PhDs are the only ones suited to tell us about our cosmology and our reality, might I suggest that an indoctrinated, not educational degree in BS is still BS.
That's a fact, sir.
Because they're just being indoctrinated and compartmentalized, and I guess what bothers me most is if this ever does come out and people really start realizing, I really feel sorry for those who work for these space agencies, because they are going to realize they've been complicit in fraud. These are the compartmentalized people who don't, they're building little parts and they're doing this, that, and the other thing, thinking that we're going to space, and we're not really going to space. I feel sorry for those people.
Absolutely. And that just goes along with that question we get. So you think everybody's in on it? No, we don't think that everybody's in on it. There are people who grew up in this situation just like we have, being indoctrinated to believe in the globe, and they were pumped about working for NASA, and they're going there every day happy because they're doing what they feel, is an important thing in their life. But it's based on a fallacy. It's based on a fallacy, and they're just bought in. So they're not necessarily in on the deception. It's just that they're complicit in that they're ignorant about the deception.
Right. And ignorance is not a bad word. It just means you don't know.
Yeah, that's it.
You are kept in the dark. Absolutely kept in the dark. So what can you do about it? And the whole thing with the satellites too. Good grief. What do you believe we got satellites orbiting around the flat Earth model, or? Where do you stand on those?
As far as satellites go, I've seen video where satellites are being launched from these remote places like Antarctica, and they're attached to weather balloons, that type of stuff. It's possible that these strips of data can be collected by devices attached to weather balloons. It's also feasible that the data can be collected by high altitude planes, with cameras and all that attached to them, the equipment to, figure out what's going on the ground. That's possible too, as far as satellites go. And then there was one video that was in circulation last year, maybe the year before that, of a so-called satellite that came down in Brazil, and it was attached to a weather balloon. And, the people were picking it apart like, what's going on here? And then you can see that it was attached to a weather balloon. So I don't believe that satellites exist in the way that we've been taught, that we've been told. And if you think about, if you Google satellites in space, all you're going to get is a bunch of pictures of CGI satellites out in space. But then you have to ask yourself, what was there an accompanying satellite that took a picture of this satellite? Like there's a satellite that follows the satellite around and to take selfies and send them back to Earth or something.
Yeah,
You know?
that's like the moon landing. Who was taking those pictures?
Yeah. Neil Armstrong's coming down the ladder. One small step for man. Wait a minute. Wait. He wasn't the first person on the moon. The camera crew was the first person on the moon. The cameraman. And they're like, no. There was an arm that extended a camera out from the lunar lander, and it was a selfie cam. That's how that happened.
A selfie
Come
cam.
on.
A selfie cam in the vacuum of space in extraordinary temperature conditions. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It just doesn't add up. Hey, when we come back, I want to get a couple things more I want to talk about. I certainly want to get your views on Behind the Curve. And I got to say, I thoroughly enjoyed watching the film because I know most of you people, okay? I've done interviews with just about everybody that was in the film. Mm-hmm. And I thoroughly enjoyed watching that and seeing everybody. And for the most part, I thought it was pretty fair and balanced until we got to the end. And when they made Jaron kind of look like an idiot, and they also made Bob Knodel. Anyway, I want to get your thoughts on Behind the Curve and what you thought about it when we come back from the break. Everybody stay tuned. The Awakening Liberty Show will be right back.
You're listening to the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
No hate, no hype, no fear.
I'll bust it one time. Truth and liberty. Fighting the New World Order and the tyranny. The Awakening Liberty Show with Sean Caron.
And we are back, the Awakening Liberty Show, right here on truthfrequencyradio.com. I was laughing here a little bit because a quote that Ronald Reagan had stated when he was running for vice president with Barry Goldwater came to mind, and I'm gonna reword it a little bit because he uses the word liberal, but I'm going to say the trouble with let's just say the trouble with humanity and our friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. And he obviously uses the word liberal, but at the same time, again, they're not ignorant. But because we have been indoctrinated and lied to for so many years, since we were just kids, we just know so much that isn't so. So we have been told to believe something. And obviously, we're all believing it. We've all bought into this idea. I know for myself, I was a huge Star Trek fan, Battlestar Galactica. I was into Star Wars. I saw the movie 7 times in the theater. I loved it. I believed in all these aliens and they were coming from other planets. And I was totally sucked into this idea of the heliocentric model, and not just because of what I was taught in school, but also because of what we saw in Hollywood. I mean, the sci-fi films brought me into this, and I find it really funny. I have some great friends who are not flat earthers, and I will mention flat earth. They'll call me my good, crazy flat earth friend, Sean Caron, on Awakening Liberty. They'll say that to me, and they'll say I'm nuts because the earth isn't flat, but at the same time, they'll turn around and say that there's really good, solid core evidence that President Obama was a time traveler. And I'm just scratching my head going, what?
Right.
It's crazy, man. So we have
Absolutely.
It's hard to look at what's going on in the world and not laugh, but at the same time, it is what it is. So we had this other hit piece film, Netflix, which you were in, by the way, and called Behind the Curve. And again, like I said at the bottom of the hour, the last segment, I enjoyed the film up until the end. I mean, what were your thoughts on Behind the Curve, and what was it like to be in that production?
Honestly, I didn't know I was going to be in that film until maybe a little bit before it came out. I may have heard once or twice that I was going to be in it, but didn't really pay attention to it, and I don't remember being directly interviewed, and I wasn't. But I wasn't too upset about it. It was a typical hit piece. It's what we've come to expect from these large organizations. Again, these guys, they came around, they said that they were going to do a fair and balanced type of documentary, weren't going to try to make flat earthers look crazy, and they proceeded to do an unfair and not so balanced documentary and try to make flat earthers look like we were lonely social outcasts that couldn't quite fit in and needed to escape to be around people that are just as crazy as we are. It was not fair. It wasn't all that it wasn't that beneficial. But I've had people that didn't really look too deeply into the video and didn't really see it as a hit piece. What happens is, in the so-called truther community, we look at things with a more critical eye than the average person walking the streets, because we're aware that we can be deceived on so many different levels. So when people that are just watching this, like, hey, I'm just going to watch this movie, like it's just a movie to them, and they're watching it, they're like, oh, these flat earthers are kind of interesting. Oh, these seem like normal, regular people, and it's like they might not have picked up on the subtle jabs that were taken, or the the statements that were made, or trying to put it together at the end to have the scientists trying to paint us like we're the ones that fell through the cracks, and that they need to reach out to us because they can't just dismiss us like that. They don't see it like that. I've had a few people say, hey, aren't you the guy that was in that movie? I'm like, yeah. Hey, what's up? They're like, hey, that was a good movie. Hey, nice to meet you. And yeah, we've been looking into flat earth. So there are people who will start looking into flat earth because of hit pieces. There's going to be people who look into flat earth because of Logan Paul's little nonsense movie. So, it's damage control, but it's kind of a double-edged sword. People aren't going to become more indoctrinated with globe belief as a result of a hit piece about flat earth. They can't mock us any more than they mock us already. All they're going to do at this point is just raise awareness that this is an actual discussion, and that there are hundreds, millions of people looking into this thing and who take it very seriously. And that's just going to cause more people to look into it.
Yeah, and I guess that's a good thing. Because it did raise some awareness, and I thought Mark was great in the film. He was really the only one that kind of said, "Hey, look, he drew the line in the sand there of the globe and the water, and talking about the horizon." There was a whole lot of evidence that has been collected by so many of us flat earthers that should have been there. Your test in the Puget Sound should have been there. Obviously, Jaron had some issues with his laser test, but yours was phenomenal, and I think that should have been included. Jaron had some issues, but it just, the way it ended up, and then the whole psychoanalysis of conspiracy theorists and flat earthers in general, I thought was a little pretty off the hook.
Yeah, absolutely. And no, they didn't want to put my laser test on that. Because it was, my laser test was just like the spirit level experiment. My observations are so simple, it'll go right over someone's head, and the cognitive dissonance will kick in, and they'll just want to go on to the next question. I'm like, wait a minute, I just debunked curvature. Wait a minute, we need to stay here for a little bit. You think it's a globe, but I just proved that there's no curvature, or that the curvature math that we were given was wrong. So you should start looking into it from there. And people just go off. But no, they definitely won't put my laser test on that thing, because that's simple.
Yeah, it I thought it was great. It's the best one out there as far as I'm concerned. And obviously in the Logan Paul film, you were mocked directly when they put the level up to the window in the aircraft.
Oh yeah, I thought that was really cute. I was like, you son of a... Okay, whatever, dude.
That was a direct jab at you, and I thought it was funny because they had the Husky level there. It was upside down and everything. It just cracked me up.
Yeah, That was really cute, Sean. Really cute. It's all good though. Can I have a minute to talk about? There was one more thing I wanted to say about the moon before we switch segments. Okay, so one more thing about the moon. Okay, now when we're talking to global believers about the flat Earth model, we'll kind of throw out the idea of gravity. Just toss that whole thing out because they say that everything within the Earth or everything on the Earth is affected by the Earth's gravity. That's why everything's being pulled towards the center of mass. So they subscribe to the whole mass attracts mass theory of gravity, which is not how gravity works out in space. Okay, as far as the mass attracting mass, that's just on Earth. Out in space, being that in our solar system, we see the planets, and the planets are supposedly orbiting around the sun, according to the globe model. So the Earth is apparently orbiting around the sun because it's caught within the sun's gravitational pull. Now, being that the other planets are orbiting around the sun, that also means that the other planets that are beyond the Earth are caught in the sun's gravitational pull. That's Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Those 5 planets are also caught in the sun's gravitational pull and orbiting around the sun as a result of being in the sun's gravitational pull. So now let's look at this now. Neptune being the farthest planet in our solar system away from the sun. Now, poor Pluto got knocked off a few years back.
What happened to Pluto, man?
I'm saying, so, we lost Pluto, but Neptune is now the furthest planet away from the sun in our solar system, and that's 2.793 billion miles away from the sun. If you type that in Google, that's what comes up. Okay, but it's orbiting now. I keep saying this for a reason. It's orbiting around the sun because it's within the sun's gravitational pull. Now let's look at our moon. Our moon orbits around the Earth. The moon is said to be 239,000 miles away from the Earth, and varies because it's orbiting around the Earth between 91.3 and 94.4 million miles away from the sun. Now, if Neptune being 2.793 billion miles away from the sun is still within the sun's gravitational pull, then you can bet your bottom dollar that the moon, which is only 91 to 94 million miles away from the sun and still is within the sun's gravitational pull, why isn't the moon orbiting around the sun also? Why is the moon orbiting around the Earth?
That's a good point. Yeah.
See what I mean? All these other planets, billions of miles away, they're within the sun's gravitational pull. The moon's within the sun's gravitational pull. Why isn't the moon orbiting around the Earth? Why doesn't the moon why doesn't the sun steal our moon away during an eclipse? Because that's the point where the moon is closest to the sun, according to the heliocentric model. That's just a little something I've been working on.
Yeah, I see your point there, and I go back to the fact that. It's just odd. I mean, the cosmic coincidence of the fact that where the moon is located as to where the Earth is located as to where the sun is located, that there can be this full solar eclipse or lunar eclipse of the sun. It just so happens that it's identically the same size. The cosmic coincidences and the distances involved to make that happen, for me, if that is what's happening, if this is a heliocentric model, then that is pure evidence of a intelligent design.
It's gotta be. Come on now. Yeah. I look at the moon cycles. Every 28 days the moon goes through these exact same cycles every month after month, year after year, decade after decade, and we see that in such perfect order. So you're telling me that that's just random? That's a random occurrence. That and then like you said, when there's a solar eclipse, the moon just happens to eclipse the sun and fits directly in front of the sun, like every time. What?
Yeah.
As if they're the same size, because the sun happens to be 400 times larger than the Earth and 93 million miles away, and the moon just happens to be 4 times smaller than Earth and it's 239,000 miles away, but it just happens to fit perfectly in front of the sun where it can eclipse. Come on, man. It doesn't make any sense. if you sit down and really think about it.
The cosmic coincidences are absolutely, like I said, extraordinary that would happen. And to me, it's proof of intelligent design right off the bat. And then we got to bring up a few other things here too, because if I'm going to get into biblical things here in 666, the oddness of the fact that 666, this whole Disney, this whole satanic agenda, the numbers on solar system and our cosmology are bizarre. You get the speed of the globe's orbit is roughly 666,000 miles per hour. The curvature in 1 mile squared is 666 feet. We're talking about curvature math here. The Earth is on a 66.6 degree tilt. The Earth's axis of rotate, and obviously on the other side of that, then you've got 66.6 comes up to the 323. Here we secret societies again. The Earth is on a 66.6 degree tilt. Earth's axis of rotation and its plane of orbit around the sun, 66.6 degrees. The polar circles are located near the poles of the Earth at 66.6 degrees north and south latitude. The distance to the nearest galaxy is 11.7 million light years away. 11 plus 7 equals 18 is 6 plus 6 plus 6 equals 18. It goes on and on and on. It seems like they're just... again, it seems like they're telling us what's really going on, but nobody's paying attention.
Yeah. And that's that Masonic math there, man. It at some point, you have to disregard the idea of coincidences. When so many things point to a conclusion, you have to, just buckle down, put your ego aside and say, you know what? I have to take a serious look at this. And with all those numbers adding up, there's still so many Bible believers that believe in the globe at the same time, and those are contradictory ideas, in my opinion. Yeah,
I completely concur. I want to just recently, Jay Tolan has done some amazing things. First, I want to ask you a question: P900 or P1000?
I'm still good with my P900.
I think I'm going to buy one. The P1000 looks a little big, man, but I don't lug that thing around. But boy, does it have a great zoom on it. So I think I'm going to go P900 as well. But Jay Tolan has started doing some amazing photography in the infrared spectrum. He's modified his cameras. Have you seen his videos?
Yes, I have. I've had lots of people sending me links to his videos. I've seen a lot of them, and I mean, he does great work with the IR photography and video. He's always, and I'm going to show you another video of our amazing flat Earth. I love that guy. But I mean, he's always able to film things that are at distances that, according to the globe, make absolutely no sense. They should have been hidden by a mile of curvature, And I mean, he puts that stuff out there, and I mean, it's nail in the coffin after nail in the coffin. At this, it's kind of beating a dead globe at this point.
Yeah, he said that he was actually going to debunk it. He wanted to debunk it, and by the time he was done with his infrared testing, he was really scratching his head, kind of like what happened to me at Pyramid Lake. And he went, "Wait a minute, I got to put this out there." And we're talking about San Jacinto Peak. That you shouldn't have been able to see. And we all know about the boats. Okay, people say, well, the boats, they go over the horizon. No, they don't. With today's optics on things like P900s and P1000s and the telescopes we have available today, if you zoom in on a boat that has appeared to be or is being hidden by the curvature or is beyond the horizon, if you zoom in with today's optics, you can see that boat right to the hull and to the water. Mm-hmm. So, okay, there's one thing. That's what most of us have been going, all right, well, this doesn't make any sense. But he went one step further, and I would check it out. Go to Jay Tolan on YouTube. He used infrared technology in filming in the infrared spectrum, and he can see San Jacinto Peak from, just so far away. It absolutely amazed me. It blew my mind. And again, there was another piece of evidence that went, wait a minute, something's wrong here. Either the math curvature is wrong, the size of the globe is wrong. If it is a globe, something is not adding up here, because he shouldn't have been able to see that San Jacinto Peak.
Absolutely. Like I said, so many coincidences, so much evidence, and heck, I even went out and did another laser test But actually, I didn't take the laser. After all the backlash from the laser, I said, okay, I'll go even simpler than that. I'm going to take a combat flashlight out. And we went to the same places, Owen Beach for him. With my P900 this time, he zooms in on my position, and I was at Saltwater State Park, and I took a combat flashlight out, just a flashlight, the bright ones that you see, about $75, the Shadowhawk or whatever, and I put it on a stand that was 3 feet above sea level, and he could zoom in and see my flashlight on strobe from 10 miles away while it was only 3 feet above the water. I mean, you could make excuses about a laser, refraction or beam dispersion, light divergence, and all that good stuff. But a flashlight, nah, it's a little more difficult. Yeah. Because I mean, there are points where he's like, yeah, I can see it, and then I'll turn on my laser. I had the laser out too, and there's the flashlight blinking, and then I'll turn the laser on, and you can see the blue hue from the laser at the same time. He's like, yeah, that's it. It's flat.
It's flat.
And the video that I put that in, I actually named it "Beating a Dead Globe" because I'm like, the globe's dead. There's no curvature, so there's no globe. Period.
There was a video you did a while back. In fact, we talked about it when you were on the show last time. You picked up a globe in a store, and I thought you made a very, very obvious discovery. What did that globe say on the sticker at the bottom?
Oh, the globes are not meant for educational purposes, but are meant for decorative purposes only. And it didn't specify what type of globe. It didn't say little purple globes or little pink or blue globes. It just said globes are not meant for educational purposes, but for decorative purposes only. And that sparked the question, well, if globes are not meant for educational purposes, then why are our children being educated to believe in the globe?
Yeah, right. And ever since I was a young boy, I mean, every picture I've seen that I thought was, a picture from space of the planet has been, it is spherical to the pixel. Okay?
Yeah.
Completely to the pixel. Yet we have Mr. Snake in the Grass Tyson here. I'm going to play a little clip here because I can't believe they allowed him to say this. But again, keep in mind as you listen to the clip, the pictures that we see allegedly that are from space of the planet are spherical to the pixel. There is no oddity to them whatsoever. Here's Neil deGrasse Tyson.
So it's not actually a sphere. It's oblate. And officially, it's an oblate spheroid. That's what we call it. But not only that, it's slightly wider below the equator than above the equator.
A little chubbier.
Yeah. Chubby is a good word. It's like pear-shaped.
Yeah.
So it turns out the pear-shapedness is bigger than the height of Mount Everest above sea level.
That's a big difference there. And why we would say they've got pictures from space showing a sphere to the pixel, and then he's calling it pear-shaped, I just find astonishing.
Yeah, that's absolute craziness, and I've pointed that out in a couple of videos, and I like to continue to point that out. Like, no. Neil says it's pear-shaped, and yet we're always shown a perfect sphere by NASA. So who are we supposed to believe here? I'm going to say that they're both lying, and that the Earth is flat and stationary. But hey, to each his own.
Right. And I think we got to point out too. We were talking about the moon landings earlier, and their alleged moon landings and trips to space. This bothers me too, because when it comes down to them, I mean, they went to the moon. I mean, its primary objective was to prove the globe model. Most people don't know that. They had theories that it was a globe going back about 500 years. The whole intent was to get a picture of the globe spinning in space. And I don't know what happened there, but they seem to want to promote that whether they went to the moon or not. I think that's something we have to point out.
Absolutely. And then there was that video, you've probably seen it. A funny thing happened on the way to the moon, where it shows the astronauts in the cabin, staging a phony shot. They had a circular window above the surface of the earth, had the camera in the back of the cabin, being directed by some guy as far as putting the little cardboard cutout in the window. And I mean, there was a point at the end of that video where they turned the lights on, and you could see that the camera was in the back of the cabin. You could see that what they were sending back as far as an official image of the earth was actually just, it was the camera getting video of a circular window. And I mean, the camera's in the back of the cabin. They turn the lights on. You can see the diffused light. So it's not, illuminating the cabin, but you can still see your way around. And then all the lights come on, and you can see an astronaut in front of the camera. You can see the whole cabin and all that. So, I mean, it's obvious fakery, but it's all out there for anybody to see.
Hey, you just got to go look.
That has eyes to see and ears to hear. The information's out there. Sorry.
Yeah, you got to look into this with an open mind. Okay, I did it, and like I said, I'm flat to the point where I know I don't believe in the heliocentric model. I've been geocentric for many, many years, long before even flat Earth, because that's what the Bible tells me. But at the same time, is it bigger? I don't know. But come back to the point of water always finds its level. Even if it was bigger, we would still see some strange oddities with water itself.
Mm-hmm. So there will be some curvature measured at some point.
Yeah, and we can't seem to do it. So what's next for? Where do we go from here? Where do we go with flat Earth? Where do we go with exposing the truth? And what's next for Darryle Marble?
Hey, what's next for me? And as far as the whole community goes, or the movement, people call it, I can't speak for where that's going to be in the near future. I can only tell you what I'm going to do, and what I'm going to be doing is continuing to do what I've been doing lately, as far as street activism and encouraging more of that. I've spent 4 days in a row this week, out at different locations. I was at Pioneer Square on Sunday. I was at the waterfront in Tacoma, Schuster Parkway, and I was at Owen Beach, with my banner from Flat Earth 101. Had my iPad out, had cards, had pamphlets, flyers, and all that. And I was out there on solo, spreading the word about this thing. And I'm encouraging other people to do the same thing if they, to whatever degree they're comfortable. Wherever you're comfortable, just spreading the word. So I just want to be one of the ones that kind of energize the whole conversation and encourage people to get out and make more moves.
And I want to encourage Robbie Davidson. I want to encourage the Flat Earth International Conference to continue. But again, learn from the mistakes that have been made, and keep the trolls out of it. And let's keep it. There's a whole lot of other division going on within the Flat Earth community too, between certain people and ideologies within the Christian religion. I don't want to see that. I want to see us all working together. I mean, Flat Earth isn't just for Christians. Flat Earth is for everybody, and I think truth is for everybody.
Absolutely.
All right. Darryle Marble, thank you so much for joining me again today, and we'll be talking to you soon, brother.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Sean.
Yeah, thank you. Everybody, tune in next Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. That's Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. We're going to have Brother Josh on the show. We're going to be talking about Torah. Actually, no, I'm sorry. It's James Freed. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong calendar. Much love to everybody. God bless.